Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Trustees meeting for Blanc Township for Tuesday, March 9th. I would ask that we rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And at this time, I'd ask Clerk Robertson to conduct a roll call. And please include the location where you're seated this evening for the meeting.
Trustee Raridan.
Present, Blanc Township.
Trustee Hugo.
Here, Blanc Township.
Trustee White.
I'm here in Blanc Township.
Trustee Fike.
I'm here in Blanc Township.
Myself, I'm in my office here in Blanc Township. Supervisor Bennett, you are?
Yes, here in Blanc Township as well.
Okay, very good. 6 members present, a quorum.
Okay, very good. At this time, I would like to ask for an approval of the agenda. We'll approve the consent agenda in a little bit, so it would be just approving the regular agenda at this time.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay, motion by Clerk Robertson, supported by Trustee Fike.
Very good. Reckon roll call. Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6 votes. The agenda is approved.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I would like to ask if there is any public comment, and to raise your hand if you're new to this. What you would do is, if you're on Zoom, you can move your cursor to the bottom of the screen. You'll see the participants icon. If you click on that participants icon, the list of attendees will show up on the right-hand side of your screen. The bottom of that list of attendees, there should be an icon that you click on with a hand raised, and that will allow us to see that you have a public comment or wish to comment tonight. I'm looking through the list of participants. I don't see any hands raised. Do you? Okay. Mr. Ert has his hand raised. Mr. Ert, I think, let's see, we'll unmute.
I think I am unmuted, aren't I?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Ert.
Good evening, Ed Ert, 7212 Porter Road. I attended your last meeting, and I noticed there was some discussion in regards to blight in the Saginaw corridor and sidewalks. Almost a decade ago, I addressed the Township Board about soon being able to walk to the Township Board meetings. That was quite some time ago, but we never did get in sidewalks. That did not happen. And I know it came up about sidewalks, why do we don't put them in? I believe back in 2006, we had a ordinance, at least I was on the Pathway Committee and Sidewalk Committee at that time, that sidewalks had to be put in. And I believe that's why we have a sidewalk in front of the police department. We followed code. Why that didn't happen all over the township, I don't know. But it seems we get distracted because that was a project from long ago. You know, for example, we revived the Tech Village. We didn't revive the Saginaw corridor. We put general fund money in that, or, you know, thousands of dollars. And then we went going nationwide to find tenants for the Tech Village. And that's all wonderful. I'm all for that. You know, we went nationwide and looked for that. We started a DDA and we funded the DDA. And I know that you approved their budget, okay, here shortly ago. I don't know if you've seen their financial records or their debt. And I don't know if that debt's been paid back yet, but I think that was quite a chunk of money that took to start the DDA. And we fund the Perry House. So getting back to blight, okay, and the Saginaw corridor, we need to invest more money into that, okay? It always seems to be put on the back burner, and we need to clean that stuff up in the township for it is part of this township, and that's where this township started, where most of the blight is, okay? And it needs the attention. We don't want to lose our image, okay, in the county by having blighted areas, and we sure do need sidewalks and pathways. So, you know, we don't want to lose our identity in that respect, okay? And we need to maintain what we got before we reach out and try to do other things. And I thank you for listening to me. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to make a public comment at this time? Okay, I don't see any other hands raised. Okay, we will close public comment and bring it back to the board. At this time, I will ask for an approval of the consent agenda. How that consent agenda works, just for the public's knowledge and any board members for a refresher, is that the items that we place in the consent agenda are items that we aren't necessarily going to go over unless a board member asks to have it pulled out of the consent agenda and placed into the regular agenda. It's a way that we can take care of ordinary business without necessarily having to go through and make a motion on each one of them. So there might be some purchases or a software subscription or what have you that we place in the consent agenda, and everybody's okay with it. We will put it in the consent agenda. When the consent agenda is voted on and passed, then we don't necessarily have to go through each one of those items. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion or entertain somebody to make a motion to accept the approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay, motion by Clerk Robertson, supported by Trustee Hugo.
Very good. Record roll call?
Yes, please.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
Yes. All righty.
Okay.
6-0, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Under new business, item A, the board will consider a motion to approve the purchase of a 2021 Ford F-150 4x4 from Signature Ford of Owasso for $36,163 in place of the previously approved Chevrolet Silverado, and authorize the Township Superintendent to execute all related contracts and purchase orders. Someone want to make that motion, or anybody has any questions with regard to this? Mr. Fike? Making the motion, Mr. Fike? Okay. Ms. Hugo, were you seconding that motion?
Yes, I'll
Okay.
second that motion.
Okay. So motion by Fike, supported by Hugo.
Okay. Record roll call. Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer is absent. Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes. Thank you.
6-0, motion passes.
Thank you. Item B, the board will consider a motion approving a resolution. The resolution is 21-10 to change our standard lighting contract with Consumers Energy to include 3 new streetlights along the new Embury Road / Grand Blanc Road roundabout, and authorize the Township Superintendent to execute all related contracts and documents. I believe there was a diagram in the packet that showed that roundabout and where the lights would be placed. They're planning on doing that work this summer. So, someone care to make, Ms. Hugo?
Yep.
Makes,
I will make the motion.
okay.
Okay. Ms. Hugo makes the motion.
Okay.
Seconded by?
Seconded by Mr. White. I think discussion, Mr. Fike?
Yeah. I just want the public to know that this is coming this summer. And, you know, I sent a little note to Jeff about when this is going to happen.
Right.
And he says it's going to start in the beginning of July. And just we want the people of Grand Blanc Township and everywhere to know that this is going to be a giant construction project right in the heart of the township at a very busy intersection that a lot of people use there at Dort and Embry. And he says it actually goes from Dort Highway all the way to the city limits of Grand Blanc. So this is coming. I guess we'll give them more warning as it comes and more updates as it comes. But I was glad to see this. Yeah, they're going, in addition to the roundabout, they are going to pave the section between Dort and the city of Grand Blanc. So they'll probably build the roundabout, I would guess, prior to doing the paving of that other section. So forgive me for not raising those comments before the vote, in the middle of the vote. No problem. Just wanted people to know that, hey, this is kind of a big deal and it's coming down the pike in July. Yes, we will. We'll make sure that prior to that time, I'm sure that we'll get the road commission to put some portable signs out there notifying people a few weeks in advance so that anybody that drives that route is going to be well aware. And thankfully, we have the Dort Highway extension that will take you to Cook Road now, so that'll alleviate a little bit of it, but it still will be a little bit of a burden on some people. So thank you, Mr. Fike. Any other thoughts or discussion on that item?
All right.
Okay, go ahead, Clerk Robertson.
With the record roll call. Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Okay, thanks. Item C, the board will consider a motion to approve the purchase and installation of LED lighting for Township Hall and the police station for $31,025 from Metcalf Electric and authorize the Township Superintendent to execute all related contracts and documents. Mr. Limita, anything you want to mention on that, or?
It's just another phase of a long-term project. We've been going through the township office complex, as you know, and doing several upgrades, but we do a little each year, and this has been in the capital projects plan as part of the long-range project to convert this to LED. It actually ends up saving us money in the long run.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that, or anybody care to make the motion?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay, I saw Ms. Hugo's hand go up. Ms. Hugo wishes to make the motion, and Clerk Robertson supporting that motion.
I'd be happy to second. Okay.
Go ahead, Clerk Robertson.
All right. Record roll call. Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Item D, the board will consider a motion to award the contract for upgrades to our water storage facilities for $21,200 to Zelmer Welding, LLC, and authorize the Township Superintendent to execute all related contracts and documents. Let's see. Do we have Mr. Sears on the meeting? Yes. Okay. Mr. Sears, do you want to comment? Good evening.
Sure. As indicated in my memo, these repairs that we need to make are a result of some inspections we had done in our tanks and towers last fall, early winter. Basically, what it boils down to is some standards changed at the state level for the mesh that we put over vents so that critters and other debris can't get into the tank. And it actually has to be a finer mesh now. So we have to have that replaced. And since it's a job that has to be welded onto the tank itself, it's not something we can do in-house. I did note in my memo also that it's not a budgeted expense in 2021, but we will be adjusting our CIP so that we take another project out basically and replace it with this one so that we don't go over budget for the year.
Mm-hmm. Any questions for DPW Director Sears? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sears. Okay, does somebody wish to make the motion? Mr. Fike, supported by Clerk Robertson.
Okay, Fike, motion, supported myself. Okay, record roll call. Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Raritan.
Yes.
Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Item E, the board will consider a motion to purchase soccer goals from BSN Sports for $12,340 and authorize the Township Superintendent to execute all related contracts and documents. Yeah, I see Patrick Linehan, our Parks Director, is on the meeting. Mr. Linehan, anything you want to comment with regard to the new goals?
Yeah, so this came about early last year. We had some liability concerns. The goals that are currently out on the at the park are owned by AYSO and the Detroit City Football Club. So we wanted to make sure that we're able to limit the liability of having private property on the park, something that we worked with Attorney Laddie on. And this is also, it's going to be a standardized look. If you drive through the park right now, you'll see different types of goals out there. The nets aren't maintained. So it gives us a little bit more control and make the park look a little bit better too.
Okay, any questions for Director Linehan? That's a snazzy little background you got there going.
I like
Patrick.
that.
Almost as good as Joel's. Joel needs to have a roaring fire going on in that fireplace, though.
Yeah.
But, okay, thank you, Mr. Linehan. Anybody care to make the motion?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay, Clerk Robertson, supported by Trustee Raritan.
Raritan, very good. Okay, record roll call. Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Trustee Raritan.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Clerk Robertson, myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Item F, the board will consider a motion to approve the resolution 21-11 and for the reimbursement application for the senior center millage funds for a total of $170,255 submitted to the Genesee County Office of Senior Services and authorize the Township Superintendent to execute all related documents. Mr. Limita, care to comment on what this means and why we need to do this?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Every year, the board needs to approve the budget, the recommended budget from the senior center. And how it works, this has actually moved up a little bit in the year prior to, and obviously we're still relatively new to this, having taken Parks and Rec on as a township department, which encompasses the senior center only in February of 2020. So we went through this once last year, and the senior center coordinator, Misty Moen, is on the meeting today, as well as Parks and Rec Director Patrick Linehan, who can answer specific questions to the board. The three of us did meet last week or the week before and walk through the budget that Misty has put together along with Patrick to recommend to the county. Again, it works with the millage for the county senior services is a reimbursement to us. We approve this millage, we incur expenses, we submit them to the county, and they reimburse us from those millage funds. So the amount that you're seeing here for the $170,255, that equates to the millage amount that we expect to receive in return. The actual budget is slightly higher than that, but whatever else that we make for the budget, we have to find our own revenue, and that comes from hall rental and programs of the sort that Misty and her staff run throughout the year. And again, for specific questions, and actually just for the boards, I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to meet Misty. Might be a great opportunity at this point, Mr. Supervisor, to allow her to introduce herself to the board.
Absolutely. Good evening, Misty.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Misty. I have been with the Grand Blanc Senior Center for almost 16 years now. September will mark 16 years. I started off as an administrative assistant and then was hired on as director back in 2012. Very familiar with the senior millage. It was actually in the initial works when I hired on, and it was passed the year after I was hired in. And since then, I have assisted in writing the applications for the last 15 years with the millage.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Fike.
I just got a side question about the senior center, Misty. How has COVID affected you guys over there? And I would assume you're closed, or are you?
So last March we were closed. I think it was the 16th, 17th, whatever that week was shut down. And then we were allowed to reopen for outdoor programming in June of last year. And so we ran outdoor programming from June through October. Then we brought stuff inside, and then November 15th, 16th, we shut back down until February 1st. Beginning February 1st, we were able to bring our indoor programming back in. Some of our groups still are unable to meet just because of the 6-foot restrictions and no shared equipment. Throughout all this, we have offered essential services such as Medicare counseling, legal services, veteran services, daily lunch program, which we have converted into more of a delivery service, just because the seniors felt more comfortable having it delivered versus getting out of their homes. We also have just started up our annual AARP tax services, but then our exercise classes have all been able to come back starting February 1st. We do have capacity limitations. Everything does have to be sanitized in between each class, each person, as well as temperature checks, the health questionnaire, and everything else that meets those protocols to fulfill the county health department.
One other question, are you doing any COVID vaccine testing over there?
We are not doing any testing. We did partner back on January 14th with the Genesee County Health Department. So every day people can call our office and we enter them directly to the Genesee County Health Department on their website. We also assist with those that have no internet services or are unsure about doing so, hooking them up with Art, Kroger's, Myers, CVS, and any other agency that is offering the COVID vaccine.
Thank you, Misty, for doing the good work over there.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to add on that, Misty over at the Grand Blanc Senior Center throughout the whole COVID thing, out of all the senior centers, Grand Blanc has been the one that's been offering things. Misty has a strong Zoom instructor list, so she was able to keep that going while a lot of senior centers just weren't offering, programming. So, props to Misty for that. And even the outdoor classes, a lot of other senior centers weren't doing that, but we really saw the demand in the Grand Blanc area and we were able to meet it. So.
Very good. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Misty. Appreciate your great work. Okay. So would somebody care to make the motion with regard to the reimbursement? Item F on our agenda, Ms. Hugo, and seconded by Mr. Fike.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Robertson?
Yes, record roll call. Trustee Fike?
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Trustee Raridan?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Item G, the board will consider a date for a joint meeting with the Planning Commission to discuss the master plan. We are looking at March 30th or March 31st, which both have been proposed. So, Mr. Limita, any idea where the Planning Commission is in terms of these two dates, and which one, is there a preference with them, or have we not heard?
Last week at the Planning Commission meeting, they did address the possibility of the joint meeting to move forward with this master plan. And those were the two dates. It was discussed as a virtual meeting through, Zoom. And so I think everyone was, feeling like it would be the same, an evening meeting with a 6 or 7, p.m. start. And either day, they felt there was an equal number of planning commissioners that could be present. So I think it's for the board's preference. How many of you are available on, is there one day that's better than the other that will get the majority of the board involved?
Okay. Anybody care to make the motion to have that joint meeting?
Do we have a consensus on the date, Mr. Supervisor?
I think the 31st, let's look at our calendar real quick here. I think we just kept with our regular scheduled meeting. Well, let's see. We'll have a meeting on the 23rd, and then that'll be an extra meeting. We can stick with the Tuesday if you'd like. I think we stick with the Tuesday, the 30th. Let's go with the 30th. Ms. Hugo?
My only concern, I'm not going anywhere for spring break, but that is the week of spring break.
Is it?
I know, just for Grand Blanc. I'll be around. I don't have a problem, but I don't know if other...
There'll be several on the Planning Commission that may, I don't know, they have children in the schools, several of the people on the Planning Commission.
It may have been the comfort level with the Zoom meeting that led them to
that's true.
Those dates.
Let's go for the 30th, and we'll see how many can make it, and if it looks like they can't make it, then I'll make the call. Okay.
Well, very good.
Someone care to make the motion to meet on the 30th?
Okay.
Mr. Fike makes the motion, supported by Ms. Hugo.
Okay. Fike, motion, Hugo, support. Planning Commission. Okay, record roll call. Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Raritan.
Yes.
Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
6-0, motion passes.
And just for clarification, this is at 7 o'clock, correct?
Correct. 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
Okay.
The point of order, Mr. Supervisor.
Yes.
Clerk Robertson, then will you do the notification for both the Planning Commission and the board for the joint meeting to post the meeting as a public meeting, and then we'll set that up as a Zoom meeting?
I'd be happy to. Yes, of course.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, we will move to item 7 on our agenda, future agenda items. One of the things that I would like to ask the board, first off, if any of you are getting emails from me asking for help, there actually is we're getting quite a bit of phishing or spam or whatever, that people are actually using my name in their emails. So I've had a number of you, and I know I just got a text from someone saying that, hey, Scott, did you send me an email asking for my help? And I'd urge you to always look at even though it says it comes from me and has Scott Bennett on it, click on where the email is coming from, and you'll probably see that it's not from our Grand Blanc Township server. It's from some crazy, other place around the world. But I'm not asking for you to open a bank account or anything like that. So anyways, to clear that up. But with regard to future agenda items, one of the things that I would like to do, we've had a number of board members and a number of the public ask us to take a look at board compensation. And So what I would like to do is to ask for a task force or a commission to, I don't know if it'd be about 30 days or 45 days, whatever we think it would need to cover the topic thoroughly, to research where we are at currently, where we've been in the past, and how we compare to other municipalities as far as compensation for boards. And let's take a look at it. I don't have any preconceived notion of where we're at. I do know that, you know, just looking through the records, I asked Mr. Lima to do some research, and we can't find anything in the past 20 years for any kind of increase. We do see the supervisor position going to the, from the 68,000 down to 18,000 back in, I think it was, what is this, 2008, Mr. Limita, that occurred. But other than that, it's probably at least 20 years since there was any kind of review of the salaries for the trustees, the treasurer, the clerk. So I'm going to ask that we form a task force or commission to look at that. And I would like there to be 4 of us on there. I'm going to ask Mr. Fike, Mr. White, myself, and Mr. Kilmer, our treasurer, to be on that commission or task force. And I don't know, what do you think? 30 days that we need to come back and report back to the board, maybe? So about a month from now. Mr. Fike, you think that'd be adequate? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I've been thinking about this, and I realize it's unseemly to, in a sense, be voting ourselves a raise, which is what this would be. But I think we need to look at, you know, the past, how long it's been, and then as we compare with other townships in jurisdictions in Michigan near us that are the same population, what are they being compensated? I haven't made any decisions on this. I want to hear, you know, what the answers to these questions are. But what I really strongly want is for the public to show up at our board meetings and voice their concerns or email them into us about how they feel about this. Do they think this is something that they would support, or would they be vehemently against it? I am all ears. I would love to hear from what the public feels about, you know, board compensation.
Right.
I know that there was a previous board that acted in a certain way on this, and I don't want to be part of any kind of backroom deals or any kind of quiet discussions. I want this to all be out in the public, and I want people to hear and to voice their concerns about whether they feel this is a good idea. That's all.
Okay. Mr. Reardon, and then Ms. Hugo.
Yeah, I think by having 4 board members on, this will all be open to the public.
Correct.
So it'll be out in the open no matter what. So I think that's the benefit of having the 4 members.
Correct. Ms. Hugo?
So in the past, and I'm not sure if I'm correct or not, I know there was a lot going on with the previous board suggesting that they give themselves a bonus back in December. Was that last year? Last December. And it's my understanding that typically the current board members would make a recommendation for the future board members to get a raise. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I'm understanding. I'm never comfortable giving myself a raise. However, I just want to understand the entire process, being new, you know, to the township board and past practice.
Yep. Mr. Laddie.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, but thank you. I know that this topic is uneasy for a lot of sitting trustees, but you are not at all limited in making a recommendation for a future board. You have the authority, and I think you have the responsibility to examine what you're being paid compared to other similar folks in similar situations, and correct that. Again, I know you don't want to do this, but correct it not just 3.5 years from now, but as quickly as you can, frankly.
Yeah, and I think that one point that I'd like to make is that, you know, what I intend us to look at is not just, you know, whether it's raises, but look at, you know, some responsibilities have changed in terms of the positions too, and look at those for the future. How compensation works for a board is that, you know, if I were to take a pay cut, or anybody else, the treasurer, whoever, it would require them to all, you know, go along with it, or be in favor of it. So I think we need to look at what the responsibilities are for the positions, and as well as not just comparing us to other municipalities, but looking at what the responsibilities are, because some of that's changed over the course of even the past couple of years, let alone 20 years, and we need to make sure that responsibilities and pay align. Ms. Hugo, you had a follow-up?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment as well. I know us as board members, we are aware that one another is on, we are all on other committees, such as, you know, the Planning Commission, the Elections Commission, and several others. I don't know if the public is aware of that or not, but
right.
I just wanted to throw that out there so they were aware.
I think, Mr. Robertson?
Just a point of clarification on the discussion that took place here. In Trustee Hugo's comments, she mentioned the previous December. I'm presuming that you mean December of 2019, not 20. That was
correct.
That would put it
correct.
Correct, because we were the board members this past December.
Make that clear for the recording, right, and for the record, of course.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. The one of the things that Ms. Hugo brings up is the other responsibilities other than being on these Zoom board meetings is that we did have, and I'll just touch on it in my report as well, but we had a board workshop on Saturday morning, and it was very good. But I think one of the things that we all realized, especially those that are new to the board, is the responsibilities that some of the positions carry with them. And maybe not everybody was fully aware of everything that goes on, but there are a number of responsibilities that a number of us have that the public may not see or realize. So maybe we need to identify those a little bit better too. So anyways, with that, we will get into board reports, unless the other thing is that with regard to future agenda items, one of the things that I think that we may want to do, and I'll talk to you individually to see if we need to do this. And I have I've spoken to Mr. White on this, and maybe one or two others. But with regard to the master plan, we're planning to meet with the Planning Commission later this month, as we just said in the prior agenda item. And I think there's a number of us that would like to make some suggested changes or amendments to the master plan. What I'd like to do is see if we couldn't have maybe a work session, and our timeline is getting pretty tight here because we'd have to do it within the next couple of weeks. But if we're going to go to the Planning Commission and ask them to make some amendments, we need to kind of have a consensus amongst our board members as to what those amendments are that we're going to be asking for. And maybe it isn't possible to get together as a group to go through the master plan in depth prior to meeting with them. But at some point, I would like our board to get together and have a workshop where we go through, maybe take an hour, hour and a half, and go step by step through the master plan and say, is this really something we want to stand behind? There's a few things in there that take a look at some of the action items, and are we willing to say that that's going to be our priority? You know, and I think we need to go through it a little bit deeper so that we're all on the same page if we're going to be asking for any kind of amendments to that plan. So give it some thought, and I'll be giving you a call or emailing each of you to get your thoughts. But I believe we need to have a session just devoted to going through the master plan. Okay. Ms. Hugo, anything with regard to Planning Commission that you want to report on?
I unfortunately was not able to attend the last meeting, so
okay.
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Mr. White, anything with regard to ZBA?
We have a meeting next Tuesday, but we haven't had one meeting since the previous board.
Okay.
Meeting.
Mr. Fike, anything on Metro Alliance at this time?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Mr. Raridan, we haven't had another police meeting since we last met.
Correct.
Right, okay. Treasurer Kilmer, let's see, Clerk Robertson.
I do have a couple of items, Mr. Supervisor, if I may.
Sure.
First of all, I want to bring to the board's attention that our own Lynn Henry, Deputy Clerk, has earned the designation of Certified Municipal Clerk, and it was awarded within the last few days by the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. I'm reading from the congratulatory letter that we received regarding this. It says IIMC grants the CMC designation only to those municipal clerks who complete demanding educational requirements and who have a record of significant contributions to their local government, their community, and state. Your township can take immense pride in Lynn's educational accomplishments and achievements of this milestone. I'm delighted that Lynn has received this designation from this international body. She is well deserving. She worked very, very hard. This was not an easy task at all. And we the Township Board of Grand Blanc and the citizenry of Grand Blanc Township, most especially, are fortunate to have her as our deputy clerk. And I want that stated for the record. And so, again, congratulations, Lynn, and thank you to the IIMC. I have a second matter I wanted to bring to the board's attention. I'm happy to report that Jennifer Dan, who has been a dispatcher and continues to be a dispatcher for our police department, has applied for, was interviewed, and we have chosen her to be a part-time employee of the clerk's office, assisting us in election matters. I'm delighted to have her on board, and to her great credit, she is dividing her time in the short term between ourselves and the fire department to make certain we do not, or excuse me, the police department. She's a dispatcher there, and we do not want her, to short the police department in any way, shape, or form. So she's continuing to do great work for the police department and also doing good work for us. Eventually, she will transition to be entirely with us in her part-time capacity, her hourly capacity. And I'm very, very pleased to have her and I know that the police department wishes her well in her work for us here in the clerk's office. That is my report, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you, Clerk Robertson. Okay, with that, just a couple of things that I'd like to mention. One is we had a very well, I think, run board retreat or board workshop on Saturday morning. And I thought that was very helpful in all of us understanding roles and responsibilities and expectations, and really kind of our first time meeting face-to-face in person. The governor has, or Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has determined that we can start meeting face-to-face. We're limited by the amount of space in this room, so we probably will do a hybrid meeting starting with our next meeting, where hybrid meaning that our board can meet here, and I guess if a board member wants to meet remotely, they can do that as well. But we're going to ask the public to attend remotely at this time, just because we probably would exceed the number of participants that can be in this room at one time. So keep an eye on the meeting agenda announcement for our next meeting, but it will be a hybrid where any of you that would like to attend in person, we're going to be able to socially distance here in the room with our board. And however, with the public, we would ask that they attend remotely, and we'll be able to use the Zoom just like we're using today. So the board retreat was very good. One of the outcomes is that we do want to do some strategic planning. As you know, a number of the board members had pointed out that we ran for the board to accomplish some good things. It's nice to be able to authorize the purchase of trucks and vehicles and software subscription, what have you, but really we each of us ran here to make sure that some good things happen besides just conducting day-to-day business. And so we're going to plan a date where we start strategic planning and putting what our wishes are down on paper and getting the public involved at some point. But we'll be putting that date together here shortly. But I wish to thank all the board members for committing half of their Saturday to attending that. With regard to one of the items on the agenda, on the consent agenda, I just want to mention that we have received an achievement in excellence for our finances and how we report them. And we have a fabulous finance department, although we're going to be undergoing a few staff changes, but our director, Kathy Solstak, does a phenomenal job, along with Mr. Limata, in making sure that our financial reporting is A1. And I don't know how many years we've received this award, but at some point we're going to have to figure that out, because I think, I know it's been at least the last 5 years, I would guess, at a minimum. With that, there was a comment with regard to the DDA, and actually as a chair of the DDA, I just want to say that actually the township initiated the DDA. The finances for the DDA are very strong. The township initially loaned some funds to the DDA. I believe Mr. Laddie will concur that those funds have been repaid from the DDA back to the township. And actually the DDA has a very healthy bank account. So in terms of township funding DDA, the township doesn't fund it. It's funded completely by tax dollars that would have gone to a lot of various entities within the county, but with the DDA, those tax dollars stay within the DDA to improve that area. So actually it's a net gain to our township in terms of funding, not a cost. Mr. Laddie, any comment with that regard?
No, you're exactly right. That and so we had a line of credit available to the DDA if we needed it. They chose to avail themselves to about 25% of what was available, paid it off in a year, and paid interest on it. So it has been not a financial drain at all in the township, and in fact, a little bit of a windfall. So your comments are exactly correct.
Yeah, and just I'd like to say too that the goal of the DDA and the development with the Dort Highway Extension, you know, one of the things that the Dort Highway Extension was an economic development effort that Clerk Robertson was at the tip of the spear pushing for that when he was in the legislature, along with pretty much all the, he was able to get it was bipartisan support here locally. All the state reps and senators in the area supported it. But it was a $13 million project that the state supported with economic development money over the course of 3 years. They funded that. And of course, the township has a couple of $1 million going into it. But the bottom line is that it's meant to develop even more tax base so that we can do things throughout the township, whether that's in the north part of the township, the east, or west. But the whole idea is to generate tax dollars to be able to, without raising taxes, to be able to fund our efforts to maintain the entire township. The reason why our master plan is so critical is that it spells out some ideas for doing some things in the north part of the township, the south, east, west, and we need to make sure that our board's on board with what those plans are, and if not, we need to make sure we amend it so that we are on board with what those plans have. With that, I am going to ask Attorney Laddie if he has anything to report on at this time.
I do not.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent Limata?
Nothing to add. You have my written report.
Okay. At this time, I would entertain a motion to, yes, Mr. Fike?
Forgive me. I have a quick question,
Sure.
Supervisor.
Go right ahead.
Through you to the clerk. We met the new elections commission, Trustee Hugo and myself, with the clerk, Dave Robertson, about the upcoming election in May. And maybe just a few lines, Clerk Dave, about this election, and that there's mailings that are going out and that there's absentee ballots perhaps involved. Can you speak to that just in case anybody's watching and they're wondering what's going on?
I certainly can. Through you, Mr. Supervisor, Trustee Fike. Yes, the Elections Commission did meet. It is statutorily obligated to meet to authorize the actions of the May 4th election, provide for the consolidation of precincts and such that's required under statute. And it was a very short but important meeting. What Trustee Fike is alluding to is the fact that we as a township, last year, we went from a permanent absentee voter list of approximately 3,900 at the beginning of the year to 13,000 now. So since we have a permanent AV list of 13,000, we are obligated to send out absentee ballot applications to the entire list because they requested that they be given that opportunity. So we did that, and we are receiving quite a number of, not surprisingly, absentee ballot applications back. And this has significantly increased the amount of AV ballot volume for this May 4th election compared to other May elections of odd-numbered years. We obviously do not know the extent to which the applications that we are receiving would result in whether maybe a lower turnout on election day, or whether this is going to be the part of a larger trend as far as turnout goes. And but we anticipate that it will be a higher turnout than the last comparable election in May of 19. But we're watching it closely, and the staff we are busy processing those absentee ballot applications and doing what the law requires of us. So I want to thank Trustee Fike and Trustee Hugo for their presence on the Elections Commission and for so ably conducting their duties in our meeting last week. And that's the long and the short of it.
There will be two items also, just to mention, on the ballot, two items at this point. One is going to be the surcharge for the 911 service. So when you call for an emergency, the 911, that has to have funding to be able to operate. So that's actually a surcharge on all phone lines. The other item is going to be a millage for community mental health. And it's a new millage that to give them additional funds to operate. So that one's going to be new. The surcharge, actually, we already pay, and it's to continue with that. So those will be the two items, at least right now, that are on the ballot. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Fike. And
is a motion in order for adjournment, Mr. Supervisor?
It is.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Robertson, supported by Fike.
Okay. Very good. Record roll call. Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
We are adjourned at 7:56 p.m.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
You too. Good night.
Right.